American gentleman. When I say he was insurance, I don't mean he was an insurance agent.
Oh, no, he owned the whole kit and caboodle.
He owned the underwriting company, and he has a prestigious history. He was one of the original Tuskegee Airmen, one of the first African-American fighter pilots who protected our B-17s over in Europe, over in England. So he was an interesting guy, and he bought a house in Paradise Valley. And, in a time when African Americans didn't buy a house in Paradise Valley.
Vernon's like, go figure that.
And I had him on the air.
So he's the other African American who lives in Paradise Valley.
I said, what is it like? What was it like? And he said, well, I don't want to be the one to say it, but a lot of people were saying, well, there goes the neighborhood. And I said, boy, it'll be a long time before there's ever, like an African-American mayor of Paradise Valley. And he just shook his head. He said, you betcha. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the gentleman who was the first African-American mayor of Paradise Valley. He brought, in essence, you kind of brought my career at KFY at a full circle from that interview to this.
Well, Barry, I have to tell you, when I was first elected mayor, the financially troubled Arizona Republic, they phoned me, and they said, how does it feel to be the first African-American mayor of Paradise Valley? And I said, well, I didn't rely on the African-American vote to take me over the top. And we got 67% of the vote, though. And that garnered me the quote of the year in the Scottsdale Republic. So.
Well, in this case, instead of there goes the neighborhood actually went with you.
That's right.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But you know what? I just found it ironic because Paradise Valley is probably 97% white, but they voted for me because of my values. They voted for me because of my background. And I thought that was just phenomenal.
And this is the thing. We've been saying this on the air a number of years. A lot of people like to boil everything down to race. It's not race. It's where you're coming from. It's values. It's culture. And I don't mean it's a black thing or a white thing. It's not any of that. It's the cultures we all hold close to each other. I mean, you got a family. You got a son. You got a wife. You got a house. You care about the country.
Absolutely. And the voters of Paradise Valley, they saw that. And actually, the voters in this new congressional District 9, they are seeing that also. When I go door to door and race never comes up, they say, what are you going to do for this country? And so that is just so powerful because so many people, they think that Arizona is this racist place, and it is not. It really is not.
What would you say to them? I mean, you go outside of the state from time to time. What would you say to them? I mean, it's because it's depicted on television. It's depicted on all the newscasts as that.
You know what? I throw out the fact that I was elected the mayor of Paradise Valley, and they say, wow. And I said, no, it wasn't. It was because of thinking people who voted for someone who they could identify with, and that's it.
I remember, I got to tell this because it was really fun. Remember, we were having lunch one time, and we were talking about the whole mayoral vote, and you said, look at me. There's not going to be a mistake. Just look at me. So it is pretty profound in that community that when you say it's probably 97, 98% white.
Yeah, but Paradise Valley is just such a wonderful place. It gets a bad rap sometimes because of people believing that it's an elitist place, but it truly is not. It is. It was voted the second most livable place in the 13 western states. So it was just, it is a phenomenal place.
And you are still on the council.
I'm still on the council because you know what? You don't get paid in Paradise Valley. It is it is all volunteer. The mayor's position, all volunteer. The town council, all volunteer.
Now I want to ask you got through that. I want to ask you the tough questions. Because here on this program, we have found that, I should tell everybody, you're a Republican.
Without a doubt.
Okay, all right.
Love of country, love of just the Republican philosophy, because it tells you that you can be whatever you want to be. And
in fact, you worked under George H.W. Bush.
I did.
What did you do under the Bush administration?
I was general counsel of a federal department 2 years out of law school, and I was special assistant to the president in the White House, and it was a phenomenal experience. I remember I met a guy by the name of Lee Atwater. Mm-hmm. I was a third-year law student at Georgetown, and he said, you want to meet the vice president? And I said, sure, Lee, I'd love to meet the vice president. At that time, I was a Democrat because everyone in my family, they were all Democrats. And so my then girlfriend, my now wife, we would get into these huge discussions, and she would tell me, she would say, "You are more conservative than I am. Why are you a Democrat?" Then when I met then Vice President George H.W. Bush, I spoke to him, and it was done. I switched parties.
He's given you his endorsement.
Yeah, presidents do not get involved in primaries, and he was phenomenal. And I'll just take about 30 seconds, 5 seconds, if you would. Just he said that Vernon Parker is a good man who served honorably in my administration. Vernon is a leader who demonstrates conservative values, love of country, and commitment to excellence in all that he has done. His life is the American dream. Then he goes on to say that the newly created 9th District is a good fit for Vernon, and the people of Arizona would be lucky to have Vernon as their representative. I have every confidence that he will serve them well, as he did in my administration. I am very proud of you. He said, I encourage you to vote for Vernon Parker, President George H.W. Bush Sr. That was powerful.
Now, this president, this former president of the United States, we all like to talk about approval ratings, okay? Right now, well, when you're a former vice president, you can go a couple of ways. You can go the way of Jimmy Carter. And there's, some people don't like him too much. And you can go the way of Bill Clinton. He's an affable guy. Wouldn't you love to sit down and have a beer with Bill Clinton? My God, that'd be fun. Do you want his endorsement? I don't know if you want his endorsement, but George H.W. Bush, what is his approval rating right now?
Well, in Congressional District 9, his approval rating is 90%. And that's just off the charts. That's phenomenal. But he is such a wonderful person.
See, if I were to look at Michelle today, and you don't live in Paradise Valley, but if I were to look at you today and say, listen, I have a way that we can all go over and meet George H.W. Bush, what would you do? You'd go nuts. You'd
crawl
melt.
over broken glass. Yes, I would.
You'd be a puddle. Whatever it takes.
You know how I feel about him.
He's a much beloved man. So.
Oh, he's an awesome dude.
So, all right, now, so here's where I want to go with this, because here in Arizona, you can be a Republican. There's all kind of Republicans in Arizona. We talk about them on the air all the time. We have Rhino Republicans. We have East Valley Republicans. We have
Tea Party Republicans.
I have no idea how many flavors they are. So then the next question is, for somebody who's hearing you for the first time, well, what are you? What kind of Republican? Because, in Arizona, you say you're a Republican, and I still don't know a whole lot about you. If we lived in New York, you could say I'm a Republican. I pretty much got you. Right now, a lot of people don't. So don't answer. We're going to leave that as a soap opera thing. Vernon Parker on the program. It's KFYI.
Both you and your wife, right?
Yeah.
Both Georgetown.
Who would you between the two of you, who's the better lawyer?
She is, by far.
Good answer, Barry. Good answer.
You're kidding me.
All right. I asked a minute ago about what kind of Republican are you, because if you know anything about the state of Arizona, there's all kinds of different Republicans. Before you answer that, for the listeners who are just meeting on this program, Vernon Parker, this morning, let me just say that in all probability, you get through the primary in August, and in all probability, your candidate, the Democratic candidate, is going to be this state senator, and her name is, help me pronounce it. Kirsten Sinema, who, insofar as I've been able to determine, takes herself far more seriously, first, than anybody else does, and secondly, more than a human being has a right to. When Sean Hannity, he was down here, and they were talking about the fence down on the border, and just to show how easily you get through the fence, Hannity stepped over the barbed wire. Now, as it turned out, we build our fence in the United States on our side. So when he stepped over the barbed wire, he was still in the United States. But she went nuts. This woman was all over. Like, I want Sean Hannity.
Should be arrested, yeah.
Coming in. I mean, like this was something big. Like this was the biggest story she had ever encountered. She came across looking like a buffoon. So this is who you would be going up against if you get through the primaries. All right. So then the question is, we know that she is a Democrat. She's far to the extreme left as a Democrat.
Right.
Okay. And then the question is, we got all kinds of Republicans here. What kind of Republican are you?
Well, that's a very good question, because I think what has harmed the Republican Party, but more importantly, what has harmed America, is that we put stock in a donkey and we put stock in an elephant. But we've lost sight of the American people. And that is why I am running, to bring back faith to the American people, to say that let's look at issue by issue, and it's so difficult to really put me in a box because certain issues, I have certain views. But what I really want to get back to is not saying that because this has destroyed the Republicans, because we could have controlled the Senate, but no, we don't control the Senate because we say to ourselves, well, he's too, he's too liberal. We have Barack Obama because people said that John McCain was a rhino.
We had people calling this show, actually calling up this program, saying McCain is too far. He's not Republican enough, and so therefore I'm going to send a message. I'm going to vote for Barack Obama. I don't agree with a damn thing he says, but I'm going to vote for him anyway to send a message to the Republican Party that next time they got to give us a more conservative candidate. And we were sitting on the air dumbfounded.
It's destroyed this country. We have a president now who has increased our debt by $5 trillion in 3.5 years. I mean, it is just ridiculous. But we have so many people who say, well, I will never vote for you because you supported John McCain for president.
Right. I mean, we hear this. We hear this here on this program.
Well, the other thing about it was, somebody will come riding in on a white horse in 2012, and we will be saved. The country, the Republicans, I should say, will be saved. But I'm with you, Vern. The thing about it is that if you're pragmatic about issue by issue, I look at that and say, that's no rhino, that's no lib, that is a Goldwater Republican. You study each issue, it's a Goldwater, let me say, conservative,
right,
is what it is. You study the issues and see how that would work for the country, for your constituency, in this case in District 9 and in all of Arizona. But you look at it as a case-by-case basis and make the decision that's best for everybody.
Absolutely. We don't control the Senate now because, people say, I'm not going to vote for Olympia Snowe because she's too liberal. But this is what occurs. If you don't do it, the Democrats, they will control every committee. They control every vote. They control the country. So,
but you know what? I think there are Republicans in this state, different, of the flavors that we were talking about, who have a vested interest in keeping the Republican Party all divided up, all fighting amongst each other, because they are these little power brokers for, maybe the East Valley group and maybe the more moderate Republican, because this whole race is going to be decided by the independents anyway. But they have a vested interest in keeping the Republicans all broken up into pieces.
Well, how does that make us any different then? And this was my message to them, these people you're talking about. How does that make us any different than Barack Obama, who wants us to be split up into the gay community or the black community,
but somehow
or the
they all come
immigration
together.
Community.
They all come together at the last minute. I don't know how it happens. I'm not talking about just gays. I'm talking about liberals in general. They just migrate back together.
Well, as Mr. King would say, okay,
the great philosopher.
Why can't we all just get along in the Republican Party? Why can't we all just get along?
Listen? We have a news update. You stay over for another 15 minutes up until 8:45. Can you do that? Work that into the schedule, the agenda.
Absolutely.
The news is next, and more Vernon Parker on the show.
Sean Hannity.
Democratic Party. They are broken. They're shattered into all these little groups. Like there's a gay contingent over here, and then within the gay contingent you've got the lesbians and the transgenders and the questioning and all of this, and then there's various minority groups that are broken up in the Democratic Party. There's big spenders and extremists who want to get rid of capitalism.
Now we have blacks, we have Latinos, we have
nuts.
Break it down.
Yet they all seem on election day to come together without any problem.
They hold hands and say kumbaya.
They
sure do.
Republicans can't quite seem to get that close to each other. They fight and they stay ticked off at each other all through the election. And you were saying, if Republicans work together the way the Democrats work together, we'd have the House, right? Excuse me, we'd have
the House, we'd have
the Senate.
Well, we would maintain the House, we would take control of the Senate,
right,
and we would take control of the White House.
So why is it you've been a Republican now for how long? George H.W. Bush converted you. So
yes, he did.
How long?
Since 1987.
Okay.
87.
25 years.
25 years.
So how come, what do you see? Why is it that we can't bring everybody together?
Well, we have extremists on both sides, and we have people who do not believe in the marketplace of free ideas. We have people who say that they are single-issue voters. They'll say that if you don't believe this, I will never vote for you. And that has to go by the wayside. It really does, or else the Republican Party will continue the downward spiral.
But they don't seem to be single issue Democrats.
No, they all come together. They say, okay, well, I may believe in this or I may believe in that, but by golly, I'm going to vote for.
I'm going to have my
Barack
guy or my
Obama.
gal there. You better believe it.
Okay.
And we have I know what the problem is, and you just nailed it, Vern. You just nailed it. You can call people, and I've done this. I used to work in the business, and even if they agree with you, 8 out of 10, if they've got one thing that's wrong, a lot of times they're. But we go back to Ronald Reagan. What did he say?
He said,
if you're 80%,
and the 11th commandment, do not speak ill of a fellow Republican.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, when I was mayor of Paradise Valley, people said, it was 2008 through 2010, and when I got there, it was some really harsh economic times. And so people said, well, you have to raise taxes. And I said, nope. And they said, well, you have to use your rainy day fund. I said, it's not raining. And so we fought and we fought and we fought, and we did what was right, Barry. We said that, you know what? I met with the council over and over, and together we cut the budget by 30%, and we cut our staff by 29%, and Paradise Valley is a lot better off right now because we did that. And I'm very unique in the sense that I enjoy the endorsement of everyone on the Paradise Valley Town Council, and that's very difficult because, you know what? I am not a single issue person. I work well with a lot of people, and when I get to Congress, as we say in the South, you're from the South, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're fixing to change some stuff.
Get ready.
We're fixing to change it, and real change. Because you know what, Barry, the American people, when Barack Obama he said, "I want change," guess what? The American people have been shortchanged. I tell people that all the time.
I guess the question that then comes to me is, what do the traditional groups, since you are you're a conservative African-American man, you're a conservative Republican African-American man, what are these traditional groups, like the black preachers in town, or about the NAACP, or any of the other the Urban League and all that? What do they do with you?
They embrace me, Barry.
Do they really? I mean, do you
absolutely?
Do you get some love? I
get a lot of love from them. I get a lot of love from them because you know what? I don't go in and look. This is what is wrong with politics right now, because people, they go in and they try to find these differences and they attack. But what I tell people right up front is this: you know what? We may not agree on 10% of the things, but let's try to work on the 90% of the things that we do agree on, and let's really bring about real change that way. And because there are some non-negotiables, like for example, I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm not going to waver from that. We have in this country the highest income tax in the world. Jobs are fleeing America. Why? Because they're going to Canada, which is far left leaning, and so what happens there is that jobs are leaving here and going there.
Mm-hmm. Highest corporate tax.
Yeah, the highest corporate tax in the world. We have a regulatory system that destroys jobs. And so we need to come together and say, let's bring jobs back to America. Let's not continue to build the infrastructure of China, India, and all these other places. We need to put the middle class back to work. And how do we do that? Sound fiscal policies. Barack Obama has proven that he is not going to let us have these sound fiscal policies. He has to go. And we have to get a Senate. We have to get a Congress that says, let's put the middle class back to work.
Feeling optimistic about Romney at the time?
Very much so.
The only thing I'm worried about is he peaking too quickly.
Very bright, and I think he's surrounded himself with some very capable people, and let's just hope that he can stay on message. And Barack Obama is his best friend right now because he is destroying this country.
Yeah. Okay, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You've got. I'm curious. You got a man straight talking here. I'm curious to watch how the various Republican factions are going to respond to you. I am really curious to watch. I'm not really sure. Nobody exactly knows what this District 9 looks like. It looks like a big old crescent swath that goes through Phoenix, and it goes right through where we are right now, and it goes through central Phoenix, takes a hard turn over in the east, and goes down south, and it's a weird-looking district. I mean, you've got all kinds of different people from backgrounds, all different kinds of backgrounds to reach.
Our endorsers, if you go to the website, vernonparker.com, you'll see that I've been endorsed by Jerry Colangelo, Ken Kendrick, Nicole Bidwell, Jim Waring, former state senator, and then also Michelle Reagan, Bill Gates. They believe because they have seen that my track record is there, and people say, well, what makes you that different? Because I will hit the ground running. Congress, I am not enamored by it. It's not a big deal, but we must send people there who will stand up and do what is right, not just for the job title to say, I'm a U.S. congressman. No, we must protect America for future generations.
All right, now let me get to the most important thing that I and Michelle can say to you on this show. David. You know David Schweiker.
I know him quite well.
He doesn't will not come around here without at least a Starbucks coffee for each person.
You know what, Barry? You know what? I'm going to do a lot better. I'm going to do a lot better. You know what?
No demands.
We are going to we are going to make sure that the Bush tax cuts stay around. That way, you can buy Starbucks for the rest of America.
That's the answer.
Did you see his face when you said David comes up here with coffee?
Yeah, but that wasn't a bad answer, actually.
Hey, David's pretty good. I got to give it to him. David's a good guy.
Yeah, but that was a better answer than Schweiker came up with. He just sneaks in with the coffee. So, at any rate, all right, Vernon Parker, you come back and join us anytime.
Thank you so much.
Vernon Parker joining us for 9th District Congressman. Are we going to get in the tank for him or what?
We do here.
Well, are we getting
Barry, I would like a nickname because you've given Jared, you've given him one, you've given David one.
That's right.
Reverend Muff.
We're working on this.
Okay, we'll work on one for me.
We're working on this. All right, we will decide on the next break if we're in the tank.
We're having an in the tank discussion
for Vernon Parker. So hang on, ladies and gentlemen. It's KFYI.
The Sean Hannity Show.